And it is my pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar hosted by Nigerian Women in Agricultural Research and Development, Niward. And I thank you once again for taking the time to join us for what promises to be an insightful and impactful session. Our topic, agribusiness venture capital, is both timely and critical as we continue to explore pathways for transforming agriculture in Africa. Access to finance remains one of the biggest levers for unlocking innovation and driving sustainable impact. Today's conversation will help us understand better how capital flows into agribusiness, what investors are looking for, and how entrepreneurs, especially women, can position themselves to take advantage of these opportunities. We are truly honored to have with us an exceptional guest this afternoon, Mrs. Ndidi Nneli. She's a global respected leader in international development and social innovation with over 25 years of experience driving transformation across Africa. So very briefly, I'd like to read a profile of our host, of our guests today, our special guests today. Ndidi Nneli is the president, CEO of One Campaign. Ndidi started her career at McKinsey & Company's Chicago office and returned to Nigeria in 2002 to serve as the pioneer executive director of the Faith Foundation. She's the founder of Leap Africa, a nonprofit committed to developing dynamic, innovative, and principled African leaders and African food change makers, which provide support for African entrepreneurs to start and scale resilient and sustainable agribusinesses. She's also the co-founder of Sahel Consulting Agriculture and Nutrition Limited and AACE Food Processing and Distribution Limited. Ndidi serves on the boards of the Rockefeller Foundation, Channel Foundation, Stanbic IBTC Group, and Young Global Leaders of the World Economic Forum, the Bridgespan Group, and the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development Data. She has also joined the International Finance Corporation's Women Lead Africa Alliance. Ndidi holds an MBA from the Harvard Business School and an undergraduate degrees with honors from the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. She was a senior fellow at Mosava Ramani Center for Business and Government at the Harvard Kennedy School, a visiting scholar at Max Bell School of Public Policy at McGill University, an Aspen University New Voices Fellow, and an Eisenhower Fellow. Ladies and gentlemen, we are delighted to have Ndidi today with us. And to our audience, we encourage you to stay engaged throughout this session. Feel free. Feel free to put down your questions in the chat box. Feel free to send in your questions or put them down in the chat box in the course of this webinar. I am certain that it's going to be an insightful and impactful session. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, join me. Welcome. You can show us your clap emoji, your clap emoticon on your statuses. Let's welcome Ndidi. our distinguished guest. Dr. Nneli, you have the floor.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, my ladies and gentlemen, professors, researchers. It's an honor and privilege to be here. I'm dialing in from Abidjan at the African Development Bank, where I'm just here for a conference. I had to find a quiet place to do this session because I had promised Dr. Kerry. So really honored to be here. Please do give me the opportunity to share my screen. I have a presentation and it says this, then I'm getting a notice that says sharing is not turned on. Because it would be nice to have the slides go alongside the presentation. Fantastic. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for all the good work you do and for the honor of engaging with such distinguished people across Nigeria. I have been in the food and agriculture landscape for a long time, but actually started at the University of Nigeria as a child. My parents were both professors. I grew up on a university campus, and was first actually drawn to agriculture when I visited IITA as a young child, and was really blown away by the power of science to change lives and to innovate. So it really is a privilege and an honor to be with you today. I'll just walk through a few slides for about 20 minutes, and then we can then open up for questions and answers, but feel free to put your question and answers in the chat as we're going along. So I got into this space because I was confronted with a single story when I moved to the US after growing up in a lush campus at the University of Nigeria. The face of Africa was a hungry child, and the face of poverty was a female farmer from Africa. And this really made me very sad because, as we know, our continent is naturally endowed for agricultural excellence. There's no reason why we are net importers of food in many countries when we have, 60% of the world's arable land. We're the largest producers of cashew and cocoa from Côte d'Ivoire, plantains from the Democratic Republic of Congo, Nigeria, largest producer of cowpea and okra and sorghum. And agriculture is obviously the green gold. However, we haven't maximized it. When we think about our mindset, we have to start with a mindset that we can put China into the map of Africa, the United States into the map of Africa, India, and at least 6 European countries, and there will still be space. In fact, one of my friends, Moki Makuru, has launched a campaign about the new map, because oftentimes we think of our continent, we don't think about the size and what it means from an agricultural perspective. But beyond that, it's also about our cuisine. Our cuisine is diverse, evolving, delicious, and nutritious. And when I first got into the sector, I would look at maps of the world and food maps of the world, and the African continent would be completely dark. There will be no food that they're celebrating from the continent. People will talk about food from Thailand and Indonesia and Vietnam and China and India, but they didn't know one meal from Nigeria, one meal from Senegal. And yet our food has shaped the global food ecosystem. Through the transatlantic slave trade, our food entered many, many parts of the world. We are significant contributors today and in the past to food, and we have global influence. And I love to show this picture wherever I go in the world, because on this picture you have okra. And how many of you know that okra is an Igbo word that was adopted by the world? The word okra was first found in the Annals of Virginia in the 1600s. And in the dictionary, it says okra, Igbo. And yet, the whole world says okra, and many of us don't know that they took our language and accepted it as the global word for this vegetable. But even more than that, when you look at seafood okra from New Orleans or seafood okra from Oka, can you tell the difference? And I want to ask how many of you can tell the difference. Which one is seafood okra from Akwa Ibom and seafood okra from New Orleans? And that just shows you the power of our food and how it has traveled. The same with coffee. Coffee was born on the continent. In Ethiopia, 18 countries in Africa produce coffee, and we can actually grow coffee in Nigeria, and there are farmers growing coffee in Jos. The same with chocolates. We are the world's producer of cocoa, and yet when we think about chocolates, people think of Switzerland. Or Coca-Cola was made with cola nut from West Africa. That's why it has the name Coca-Cola. And the first recipes had cola nuts imported from West Africa, and cola nuts are 3 times more potent than coffee. And yet, many people in Africa and across the world don't realize our contributions. rooibos tea, F, and I could go on and on. In fact, my friend likes to say, if you've had Coke or coffee today, you have Africa to thank for it. How we're changing demographics, how technology is shaping our ecosystem means that there's so much more we could be doing with the feed ecosystem, and so much more we could be doing with our youth to engage them, and so much more we could be doing with trade when it comes to food and agriculture. For the last 15, 20 years, I've been involved in this sector. I'm the co-founder of Sahel Consulting. Some of you might know Sahel Consulting. We have over 60 consultants. Our head office is in Abuja. And we've done a lot in dairy, in seed systems. We've worked with Umudike Seeds. We've worked with Eco Basic Seeds. We've worked with IITA Grow Seeds. We've definitely supported capacity building and implementation across the country. I wrote a book called Food Entrepreneurs in Africa, and I want to dwell on this because as we talk about financing, which is a theme for today, you cannot get financing for any business venture in food and agriculture unless you understand these 6 components of scaling. Because no investor, whether venture capital, private equity, will give you money unless you can demonstrate that your idea is demand-driven with measurable value addition, that you are thinking about how to leverage technology, data, and innovation. And that data and innovation is critical. And for the scientists and researchers here to show proof of concept, to build trust, for people to say, oh, this product can work. You need to be able to leverage data, innovation, and technology. It's not something that you can choose to do. The days of the hoe and cutlass are long over, right? The day of even just saying tractors and hoe and cutlass and a grinding machine will get me far are over. People need to say, how are you using technology? How are you using data, and how are you using AI? Number 3, your business has to shape the ecosystem. Why is this important? Because if we start a business that serves us, great. But if they change the policy, tomorrow we're out of business. And we've seen this very sadly with the rice ecosystem in Nigeria, where so many people invested in rice farms and rice threshing machines and rice mills. And then the government changes the policy and opens the floodgates, and imported rice floods the market, and Nigerian rice cannot compete. Obasanjo did us a gift when he shaped the ecosystem with poultry. And he basically, because he was a poultry farmer, he banned the importation of chicken, if you guys remember that time. And for many of us, we complained. Chicken was smuggled from Benin Republic. There was frozen pallets of chicken and turkey brought in from outside. But that policy enabled the poultry industry in Nigeria to grow. And today, we have indigenous poultry. Our homegrown chicken can compete favorably with chicken anywhere else in the world. That is a policy. And so if you enter an industry, you have to shape the policy. If you don't shape the policy will shape you, and you might not survive. Number 4, your business has to be cost efficient with dynamic systems and structures. And this is really important because if you cannot build a company that will outlive you, people don't want to give money to one-man, one-woman businesses. They want to know that even if you're sick or you've traveled, that the business is going on because you have systems and structures. Then you have to have simple, compelling branding. How you tell your story, how you demonstrate to investors why they should come and support you is critical. And then finally, and COVID showed us this, you have to build in resilience into your DNA. You have to ensure that you have mitigation strategies for climate change, for fuel subsidy removals, for all the shocks that we know continue to happen in ecosystem. Now, I came up with these 6 models by interviewing 80 entrepreneurs across Africa who were in food and agriculture who were scaling, and realized that many of us start businesses that cannot receive serious funding because we do not know how to scale, and we do not know how to put in place the systems and structures to do that. I'm also the co-founder of Ace Foods, and some of you might know Ace Foods, but if you don't, you have to become a customer. And we're actually even looking for distributors around Nigeria. We started Ace Foods about 17 years ago to source locally and process locally and actually displace imports. And when we started Ace Foods, my husband and I, we didn't want to start with spices. Our first products were actually jams and pepper sauces and baby food. And we actually won a business plan competition for $100,000 for the jams and baby food. And then we came to try to scale, and we realized you need glass. And glass is a challenge in Nigeria because the major glass producers have orders for the next 5 years from Nigerian breweries, from Coca-Cola. And we have to give them 10 million order for them to even start production. We couldn't do that. So eventually at the 3 strategy were spices. So we introduced spices and we started with business to business sales, selling to noodle companies like Dangote and flour mills and Indomie and all those who make sachets. And then we started selling to fast food companies. Then it was tantalizers. And now we're in retail stores in Spar and Ebano, in many, many different retail stores. And now we have 150 staff. We source from 10,000 farmers. We process for the local market, and our CEO is female. We have a board, and we're able to raise financing because from the early days, we had systems and structures, because we had audited financials, because we could demonstrate that it wasn't just us, that there were other people behind us, and that's why we constituted a board. And I'm proud of what we've achieved with Ace Foods. You also have to have talent. And I mentioned boards because many of us think we can raise financing just on our own. We got $100,000 first, then we started getting more additional funding, grants. We got private equity, private placement where individuals, friends, and family took shares. We also gave shares to our staff to keep them committed, to keep them engaged. So having a board of directors very early on is important because it shows that this business is bigger than you, that you answer to somebody. We actually gave ourselves offer letters to show to our board and to our funders that we are taking ourselves seriously, that we'll pay ourselves salaries. And at the time when we started, we're paying ourselves 50,000 naira a month, but then saying that we should probably be getting 500,000 naira a month. So 450,000 difference was sweat equity that we're putting in the business, which then allowed those who were coming in to know how much they were putting in. This storytelling and how you present yourself is so critical for attracting funding. Not just the choice of your name, your logo and brand, your tagline, your brand promise, but how you tell your story. For Ace Foods, we say grown in the rich soils of West Africa, pure taste, 100% natural. And if you look on our website, you'll see the same consistent story. One person who did so well with raising money was through his brand. He created a company called Hello Tractor. Some of you might know him. And his tagline was, I'm the Uber of tractors. If any farmer needs a tractor, they just need to order using our software. This guy has done such a good job with marketing and branding that he gets companies that build tractors to be the ones telling his story in international newspapers and local newspapers and on television. So let me dwell a bit on financing, because oftentimes we hear there's no money. The good news is there's so much money available, but there are not enough businesses who can absorb it. It's really sad, but it's the truth. And when we think about how we can get money, first, are you ready? People often tell me, Ndidi, I'm ready for money. I don't know where to get it. I'm like, no. Number one, are you ready? If I gave you $1 million today, what would you use it for? And don't tell me you want to get an office, right? Or want to hire staff. What is the problem you're going to solve with that money that will generate more money so you can pay it back or you can reinvest it? So first, you have to say, if friends and family will not give me money, they know something about me that others don't. Nobody else will give me money, friends and family don't. So you have to think about your own financial systems, right? Your credibility, your capability, your track record, your strong business model, meaning if I give you money, is it any proof that I'll get that money back? Will the money come back, or am I just giving you a gift or a grant? And even with a grant, can I show results from that grant? And can I manage my investors? So what are the sources available to you? Earned income, meaning you start selling, you start off small. When we started Ace Foods, we started small. We were making bags of 25 kg pepper. We'll buy it mile 12, we'll grind it and we'll resell it, right? And then the money from that we put back into buying from 1 bag to 2 bags to 10 bags to 20 bags to 100 bags to 1,000 bags. And that's what earned income is. Then you have loans. And I would always say that loans are not my first port of call, right? Because Nigerian loans are too expensive. Maybe we have Bank of Industry that's under 10%, but it's very hard to get. And they want collateral. So from earned income, I'll say they're grants. And if you look at, and I'm going to put a link in the site that I created from writing my first book, my book on agriculture, I created an organization called African Food Change Makers. And every day on African Food Change Makers, we actually put a link to grants and grant opportunities. And I've just put African Food Change Makers website in the chat. And we put grants opportunities. You search by country, you search by value chain, you search by, and it's there. They'll show you all the grants that are available for you to apply for. And guess what? People are getting the grants. So don't assume, I don't know what happened. I lost my presentation. Don't assume that you cannot get the grants. In fact, I was sitting in Zambia one day and somebody ran up to me and gave me a hug and said they got a grant for 200,000 because they applied on through African Food Change Makers. And African Food Change Makers is completely free. So please go ahead and join the mailing list. Every week they'll send you opportunities for you. Join, upload your profile if you want a deeper relationship. There are lots of prizes right now, especially for female entrepreneurs. There's convertible debt where you take a debt, but it can be converted into equity where they have ownership in your business. Crowdfunding is a very interesting one. And some of you might know Tomato Jaws. I don't know how many of you know Tomato Jaws. But there's a lady called Mira Mensah, and she started Tomato Jaws. And she basically put together a nice video saying why she started a company, what she wants to accomplish, and she asked people to support her. And that when she finally has her tomato package, she'll give you a package of tomato paste. I didn't get my tomato paste, but I gave $100. She got hundreds and hundreds of dollars from people all over the world because of her nice video. It was funny, it was smart, it was authentic, and she used it to start her business. Another friend of mine did the same thing. He's doing an instant jollof rice where all you have to do is open it and pour hot water and your jollof rice is ready. And he's gotten crowdfunding. So crowdfunding actually works. And I have 2 friends who have done it. Now, venture capital is when people come in very early stage in your business and they give you money as just because of your idea and who you are, and they take equity. Now, the challenge is you don't want everybody's money, and you have to be careful about how much you're pricing your equity for, because by that time your business is starting, you don't know how far it's going to go. And so the ability to take venture capital is important. The angel investors who also come alongside, they want something like 10 to 15% or 20%, and they're offering you based on the idea. Now, they get in early with small amounts of money, but if your business grows, they make out like bandits, right? Those who invested in Money Points early, those who invested in, any of these startups in tech know what they were able to benefit from early stage investing. And they also prizes, and there are lots of companies now that provide prizes, and you find many of them on African Food Change Makers website. Then there's private equity. And private equity is for existing companies. Most likely you have to have had a company that's 3 to 5 years old at least. And private equity comes in and usually takes 25 to 30% of your company based on a valuation. How much is your company worth? And then they give you the money and they take equity. Now, the challenge with private equity is that they want to then have a seat on the board, and they want to be involved in making sure that their money works and delivers impact and is able to have returns for them. So they're a good thought partner and they can help you grow, but you have to make sure you have the right ones. And then challenge funds. Challenge funds are lots of, like the UK government use challenge funds, the Dutch government, where they're saying, we'll challenge you. How much do you need? How much are you willing to put down? And we'll match it. And we have benefited from challenge funds even at Ace Foods. I mentioned the first business plan competition we won, we got $100,000, but we had to match it with $100,000 of our own money. And even where we didn't have $100,000 cash, we're able to say, we're bringing in our car, we're bringing in this, we're bringing in that for the business. And then obviously business plan competitions, and every single bank today has a business plan competition. Every single church today has a business plan competition. So that one is fairly easy to find. But not all money is good money, and not all money can help you in the right stage of your business. And I just want to underscore that. I also want to say that money doesn't solve all the problems, because there are lots of opportunities, but also challenges in our sector. I mentioned climate change. Also, these shocks. We just had this new war in the Middle East. It's leading to rising fuel prices, difficulty with fertilizer and rising fertilizer prices. So as you think about your sector, what are the potential shocks and how do you mitigate against them so that your business doesn't die? We often have to think about what we're doing to solve problems. And I think many of us in our ecosystem need to come up with more creative solutions. We need higher nutritious food. We need soil sustainability measures. We need waste management ideas. We need cost and time saving ideas. We need efforts around improved crop productivity. So there are so many opportunities that are available to you. There was a young entrepreneur who invested in building a circular food ecosystem where he was basically using waste from cassava peels to make lava for manure. So that's just an example of very creative and innovative ways and selling that manure to farmers. But obviously, people are happy that he's coming to take the waste, all the breweries and all the companies. I think this is a great time to be a woman and a young person in food and agriculture. We are seen as visible and critical players, early adopters, but we still face challenges around biases and around agency and around access to financing, access to land. When I was doing International Women's Day speeches, I was just shocked that we're still at 10% of land in Nigeria is owned by women. You know, only 4% of the loans that are available are taken on by women. So I think we have a role to play in bridging that gap, but we also have to shape policy. We also have to see ourselves not just as women leaders, but as private sector leaders, understanding how we can scale in logistics, in processing, in partnerships across the entire value chain. And we also have to take advantage of the trends. There are lots of trends and innovations around today, and how we can learn from them and take advantage of them and maximize them is critical. I would say that I'm not sure we need another e-commerce food delivery system because so many people have done that. We just have to perfect a different model. Every day I'm hearing about a new person who's willing to buy from this market and ship to you. But that's not sustainable because it's very easy to copy, right? Very, very easy to copy. So if you're going to come up with an innovation, you have to make sure that you also make it a little more difficult for the next person who's coming in to copy exactly what you want to do. I mentioned data innovation and scaling. It's really important to demonstrate innovation as you tell your story and to shape your ecosystem. And as I round up, I think it's really important that you all see yourselves as leaders. Financing is just one piece of the puzzle, but the ability to shape the ecosystem, the regulatory ecosystem, the competition landscape, the geography and landscape, and to actually be part of a community of support is what will make you successful in business. I mentioned African Food Change Makers. I started this organization because as I was writing my book, I was going around Africa talking to entrepreneurs, and I would say, oh, you're in coffee. Do you know this person in coffee? I don't. Oh, you're in tomatoes. Do you know this person in tomatoes? I don't. And I was like, why are people working in silos? Why don't they know each other? We have to support each other. We have to rise together. So I created a one-stop shop that you can find data, funding, market opportunities on the site. It increases your visibility and recognition, and you get a lot of training. And one of the programs I started was called Leading Women in Food Fellowship. And it selects women who are really ready for visibility and change and helps them elevate their voices. We have women researchers, women financiers, women chefs and cooks, women entrepreneurs, women policymakers, and we select them, we train them for 6 months, and then they get to go to wherever the African Food AGRF conference that Agra holds every year is. We fly them there and they get to meet each other. It's been a wonderful program, and I encourage many of you to join. As I wrap up, I think for me, I was asked to talk about financing, and I keep on saying that financing is just one piece of the puzzle. For success in this ecosystem, you have to become a narrative changer. You have to think long term. You have to scale what works. You have to ensure that we really partner with each other. We have to invest in problem solving, see ourselves as problem solvers, then entrepreneurs who can then attract funding because the problems we're solving are serious and are huge and need our help. And then we have to tell stories. As we move up, we have to tell positive stories. I became a narrative changer because I told you that when I first moved to America, the face of Africa that was shown to me was a hungry child. And the face of poverty was a female farmer. So whenever I've had the opportunity, I want to tell positive stories about Africa. So the Gates Foundation about 5 years ago asked me to help curate something at Goalkeepers. It's an annual event that we're having in New York. And I said, I can talk about agriculture, but I want you to demonstrate it. So can we have a chef come and cook some food? So they invited Chef Pierre Thiem. He had started the fonio revolution. Fonio is acha. It's very nutritious. It's grown by women. And he made fonio salad on the Goalkeeper stage with celebrities. And Bill Gates was one of the people who cooked alongside him. And it gave me so much joy to have a whole big auditorium learning about acha, learning about African food and celebrating it. So I'll end with 2 quotes. One, we always say this, it's a time of conflict, crisis, climate change, and tough times for many, many people in Nigeria and in many parts of the world. And there's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. And I've changed it to say, we must go fast and far together. But to do this, we have to leave our egos and logos at the door. We have to work with humility, integrity, and excellence, focusing on a shared vision and goals and leaving no one behind. My hope is that through this partnership, through this sisterhood, through this community you have, that you must commit to going fast and far together, that you learn together, you support each other, and you scale together. And then there's a Tibetan quote, which I also love. It says, if I tell you my dream, you might forget it. If I act on my dream, perhaps you remember it. But if I involve you, it becomes your dream too. And my dream is that we move from being talkers or complainers or critics to being doers. There's a long line behind the talkers and the critics. People who like to complain. There's a long line behind the talkers, but what about the doers? Where are they? We need some doers. And we need more doers who create this together. So that when we think of Africa, we don't think of the hungry child, but we think about these amazing young children who, because of the work me and you do, ensure that we leave a legacy of impact and of service for future generations. And that's my hope, and that's my prayer, and that's why I'm delighted to have joined you today. I'll stop sharing and take any questions. God bless you all.
A round of applause for our guests. That was insightful, that was impactful. We totally enjoyed the session. Can we just put it in the chat box? Thumbs up, claps. Let's show our guests that we are here and that we appreciate the presentation. Can I see your thumbs up, your clap? Thank you. And I'm sure that everyone in the audience today is walking away with a deeper understanding of agribusiness venture capital. And more importantly, with renewed clarity on how to position ourselves for opportunities. And so we thank you very much, madam. We have a question, yes. We have a question in the chat box. Permit me to read out. Thank you very much for the presentation. For those of us who are researchers in research institutes and universities and have innovative products based on research, how do we get this product to the market without having our own industry or company? That's part A of the question. The question continues. Is it possible to access funding in this situation?
Thank you so much. And thank you for all the kind words. And I mentioned in the chat, I've put the link to African Food Change Makers, which I really would like all of you to take up because it's really a free resource for you. And I've also said I will give Dr. Kerry some 20 books on my books to pass on to the more serious people in the group. I know some people don't like to read. Not everybody likes to read, but it's a very practical, serious book for those who really want to build strong businesses. So I would say that there are a few things. You have to distinguish if you're an entrepreneur or if you're a researcher. My father is a researcher. He's a pharmacologist, brilliant man, Ivy League educated, 3 degrees from Cornell, but he's not an entrepreneur. He tried to be an entrepreneur and he wasn't. He loves research. And I often tell people, if you are really a researcher, then you can partner with entrepreneurs and be part of the innovation lab, where you're coming up with ideas and they're paying you for those ideas. In that case, you come in as a consultant, you come in as a collaborator, a chief innovation officer, you can give it a part-time support, but it's a different skill set to be an entrepreneur. And why am I saying that? Many researchers like perfection. They like to be right. They like to know that they are right, and they want to really have all their ducks in order before they go out to the real world. I remember when we were starting, my husband is a finance guy. Entrepreneurship did not come naturally to him. And he kept on saying to me, we can't sell any of these products. What if somebody dies? We can't sell it. It has to be perfect. And I said, listen, excuse me, we just put on the label. You have to cook it. How can we sell any spices and people should be eating it? Should people be licking pepper? You know, it wasn't sterilized. So the idea then was we really needed them to use it for food. right? Because we didn't have a sterilizer. Then we bought a sterilizer, a steam sterilizer, right? But I'm saying we wouldn't have gone to market at all if it was left to him because he wanted it to be perfect. So you have to say, what is my risk appetite? How much risk and uncertainty can I bear? If you're someone who can survive without knowing whether they'll get their salary next month and it doesn't give you a headache and a heart attack, then you're good. You can be an entrepreneur, right? If you don't have to have all the answers to the question, you can be an entrepreneur. Otherwise, consider being an innovation officer or partnering with others to sell your idea, patenting your ideas and selling them to others. Now, if you are an entrepreneur and you have products to market without having your own company or industry, that's what I'm saying. Do you want to? Can you really do it? Can you hack it? And I tell people you can't have a part-time company and expect it to work. You can't. You have to give it 110%. Those of you who say, I have part-time, something I'm doing as a hobby on the side, maybe I sell small things, that company cannot scale, right? And seriously, no investor will give you big money if they don't know that you're going to give it 110%. We got Ace Foods money because people said these people have left their day job and they're doing this thing full time. And it's not going to be easy, but they've put in their hearts and they will use our money well. So that's really important. But there are lots of places for your innovations to be used. And this is one that African food change makers will be very interested in talking to those who are interested and who have ideas. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am, for the answer. You know, as a researcher myself, I've always thought the money is in entrepreneurship, and we are just stuck in the labs and in the fields with these brilliant ideas, and we are not making the money. But I think your response was an eye opener. Thank you for your response. Do we have? I think we can put one more comment or one more question. Everybody's appreciating you for the insightful presentation and thank you for the gifts. And then there's a question from Olufumi. Starting business with someone's capital can really be a challenge. Looking at the machinery involved to start up, that is difficult. And she continues to say, now to obtain financial assistance is another challenge. What can we do concerning this? I think
so this is why I said that for me, if proof of concept, I would apply for a business plan competition or grants, right? Not your own capital. I say of that 100,000 they gave us, we probably wasted about 70,000 buying equipment we did not need. We didn't know we didn't need it, right? We didn't know we didn't need it. It was really important to know for a fact that you didn't need it. I told you that we start with jams. We don't make jams today. We're even making spicy peanut butter, osoji. Now there's a peanut butter company in Nigeria, but we came too early. When we started, people were like, peanut butter? In fact, the funniest one was jams. Because Nigerians were like, mango jam, pineapple jam, agbalumo jam. That's the best jam because it has pectin. It's naturally, you don't even have to have an additive. And it's such a good jam. But the average Nigerian was like, I don't eat jam. I don't put jam on my bread. The people who were buying my jam were the expatriates, 0.01% of the population, you know, and that was not how we're going to scale. So those mainstream said, maybe we can use it for our donuts, but it has to be red. And we are like, if we start coloring fruits red, it's no longer natural. And then we found out that many of our competitors were using just pectin with flavoring and sugar and calling it jam. And that went against everything we wanted to do around sourcing from farmers, around improving the lives of our people and the nutritional status of our people. So we stopped making jam. So we have equipment in our factory for jam. So I'm using it as an example to say business plan competition so you can actually make mistakes with other people's money as opposed to starting with So for those who are not in Nigeria, and I'm just reading the question from Orlani Care, I would say you can come in as a silent investor into other people's companies. That's one way to make a difference. Who have proven themselves, you can invest in their businesses. You can actually also buy into, through the stock market. There are quite a few ag companies, Okomo Oil and others. You can invest in them. You can sit on boards. When we started Ace Foods, we had a researcher, a quality control specialist based in the US who joined our board, Patricia O'Meron, and she served on the board for 10 years until her time was up. And so that's another way. We were so happy to have her. She had best practices from global factories. She used to audit factories. And when she would come to visit Ace Foods, she would bring her touchlight. She would look under places I didn't look. She would write an audit report, and that was her contribution to us. So you can serve on boards. That's another way to get involved and to make a difference and improve the companies that others have. And then somebody else asked about to move from research to entrepreneurship. Would it be an advantage to retire and go into entrepreneurship? Honestly, I think entrepreneurship is a good retirement plan. The guy who started KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, started at like 65 years old. But you still have to have the energy, the enthusiasm, the idea. I told you that the idea is very, very important. It has to not be an idea that's unique, that others are not doing already, or that you found a way to do it better than others. An idea that you can find compelling enough, and also others find compelling enough to want to come alongside you. So that would be my suggestion. And if you have that idea, why not go for it? I think it's a very noble goal to start a business. It's important. You create jobs, you change lives, you impact people. At Ace Foods, I'm so proud of the team. We have health insurance. We have a warm meal for 150 people. We give them lunch. We have an adult literacy program where many of them who were the ones who sort pepper and sort ginger and sort garlic did not know how to read and write. They've learned how to read and write. And we've seen their lives improve. And that for me is a gift. But it's not just them. The farmers we source from, the 10,000 farmers, the women who sell our products. So you can make such a huge difference in the lives of people. There are lots of business plan competitions, lots and lots. Every single bank in Nigeria has business plan competitions. If you go on the African Food Change Makers website, I've just put in the link to funding. You'll be able to see different competitions, different opportunities, different fairs. Every church in Nigeria, I was just following Jerry as he just gave funding to quite a few organizations. Our church, Covenant Nation, gives a lot of funding. But if you look at this, Women in Science, do you see? It's there. L'Oreal Foundation, Next Generation of Women Sciences. That one is even for not even entrepreneurs. So lots of calls for applications, lots for ideas on ideas to stem climate change. So just check out that link. It has so many resources for you. And I created this because people would ask me, what should I find data on cassava? I'll say, go to African Food Change. I'll send them data. Where can I find data on this now? Just say, go to African Food Change Makers. Search for cassava, search for dairy, search for by country, by industry. All of that information is there. And please do join the mailing list and share it with others, okay? Awesome. It's been a pleasure engaging with all of you. I have to now run to my next thing. But I wanted to just say, well done, Anelbong, well done, Dr. Carey, and well done, everyone. Well done to the Niward team. You can count on my support going forward through Sahel Consulting, Ace Foods, African Food Change Makers, Sahel Capital. We're definitely committed to helping you start and grow your businesses. And it is possible in our ecosystem with even Sahel Capital. When you're ready for private equity, we're ready to invest. We also give debt financing, but you have to be ready, right, for that type of external pressure when you start taking dollar-denominated loans, etc. So I would say some of us are not there yet, but please do stay connected and let us know how we can support you. God bless you all. All right, take care.
Dr. Ndidi. Thank you so much. You have not just shared knowledge, but practical wisdom, and we are grateful for your time with us. And we are sure we will continue to call on you, subsequent webinars, and keep in touch. I'm sure that after this session, many of us will become successful entrepreneurs. And so we thank you. To our guests and everyone who joined the session, on behalf of Nigerian Women in Agricultural Research and Development, I'd like to express our sincere appreciation to you and encourage you to reflect on the insights shared today and consider how we can apply them, turning research into products and then becoming entrepreneurs, and even in our professional journeys. Thank you so much. At this point, I'd like to call on the President of Nigerian Women in Agricultural Research and Development, Dr. Ansa, to tell us a little about award as we about Niward as we round up. Dr. Ansa, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the presenter, Ndidi Nneli, for an insightful, a wonderful presentation. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. Thank you to the Niward ESCO. Dr. Enobong, thanks for doing very good in moderating this event. We appreciate you. I want to also send greetings to our founder, Professor Stella Williams, for always being there for us. So, my dear friends who have joined us from different parts of the universe, you are welcome to the Nigerian Women in Agricultural Research for Development. So, Niward, as we fondly call it, is an organization that was born out of the need to support the farmers, the researchers, and the scientists, and everyone, the entrepreneurs working in the agricultural landscape in Nigeria. And the history is that award fellows, African women in agricultural research and development, started this, and along the line we have grown. So we have meetings, we have webinars, we have conferences that we host annually. Since 2013, we've been having annual conferences from one city to the other. We've been in Abuja twice, we've been at Nsukka, we've been in Akure, we've been in Ilorin, Lagos, Yenagoa, Yobe, and many other states in Nigeria. This year, we have our annual conference coming up in November in Ondo State, and we are looking forward to seeing you and meeting you all physically there. We appreciate you. Our website has been posted in the group chats. You can search for us at www.niward.org.ng. You are welcome, whether you are male or female, you are welcome to be part of us. So we have fellows of award, we have fellows, mentees, we also have our mentors who are part of this organization. And we want you to continue to stay in touch, join us, and let us see how we can build together to fight hunger and poverty in the through agriculture. So this is why we organize this webinar, and we are most grateful as we work with our partners to see how we can give our best to Nigeria as a nation. We will not do things that are not sustainable anymore. We will continue to build on what has been laid, a very good foundation that has been laid. Thank you for coming, and we hope to see you soon in our next webinar in the very near future. God bless you. Thank you. God bless.
This is a wrap. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We look forward to having you join the next webinar next month. Goodbye.